Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
All right, Joe. We are officially, I think, past the Oliver storyline. We got a series wrap on Oliver last week, right?
Yes. Oliver is presumably in a mental institution, but let's be real, he probably is just in a different town at another one of his parents' hotels.
Continuing to do his thing. So we are at episode 19, season 1, The Heartbreak, which there's only one word to describe this episode, Joe, and that word is sex. It is a sex episode. It's a sexapode, if you will. Marissa, just being crazy ass Marissa, is like.
Is
like,
she see it
all right,
with
can we just
CAM
pretend
or crazy ass Marissa up in here?
Yeah, she's just like, you know what? Let's just pretend the entire Oliver thing didn't happen, and let's not just get back together, but let's start having sex. And like Ryan is just like, no, like I went through like a month of everyone thinking that I was a psychopath for trying to tell you what was so obvious to me and a million viewing audience members. Like, no, I'm not just going to be like, okay, forgive and forget. Let's move on. Like I was your boyfriend. You should have trusted that I wasn't just being jealous when I wasn't ever a jealous douchebag about you hanging out with Luke or any of that other stuff. Like, Marissa's crazy in this, in thinking that this is like going to be acceptable. But then simultaneously, Seth Cohen is trying to ask Summer out. And boy, did I love Summer just being like, oh, cool. So you just like want me to be your second choice rebound. And I'm like, yes, Summer, drop some facts on Seth Cohen. But then this goddamn show where Seth Cohen says what I would consider to be the least persuasive, sexy compliment, and like women just soak through their panties with excitement when he says it. It happened when he was trying to explain why he couldn't choose between Anna and Summer, and it happens here where he's like, you're not my second choice. You were just always the first choice, but I had to go through Anna to know that, or whatever. And then she's just like, take my virginity, Seth Cohen. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, it wasn't so much take my virginity as like, it's a lie of omission. Like, I'm not telling you that, like, it's also, first of all, it's just Seth thinking that like Summer has had sex already and all of that. But yeah, it's like the bare minimum, right? It's like, you're not just the other girl, you're the only girl. And I'm like, I mean, but like also facts, right? Because like I have felt that way. I'm like, you know what, I can't get this person out of my head because, you know, they're the person who I'm like still thinking about or whatever. And I've had definitely like known people who have been in situationships where when it gets too serious, it's like, no, I'm still having feelings for someone else.
Well, we got to talk. Let's focus real quick on the Seth and Summer stuff, because it's probably also where I have the most notes right now.
Yeah.
But he just like you said, you weren't the other girl, you were the only girl type idea. And Summer's just like, do you have a condom? And they go to it, and then we get this shot post sex. And first of all, there's just the perfect line delivery of Seth going, "So that was sex."
Yeah.
And then Summer goes downstairs, and Joe, we get a shot of Adam Brody laying in this bed where I swear the camera is cut off just before his dick is visible. It is so gratuitous. I was like, what is happening?
Matt, it delights me so much that you, a cis-het white man, is bringing this up because I was ready to like have an expansive disquisition on how my sexuality developed from seeing adding Brody's treasure trail, like Little Happy Trail.
Yeah.
Like,
I
my
couldn't believe
God in
what I was
heaven.
looking at on a television show at like 8:00 on an evening.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was also, but
That
see,
would be sexy for like an HBO show at midnight. Like,
no, I mean, not necessary. I think it was a little risque for the time for Fox in like the aughts, right? I think that is correct. I think now, I mean, like, fuck, like HBO's showing people like, you know,
well, they show a lot of hang and dong these days, but still,
yeah.
like,
yeah. And I think that like here's the thing. Like, do you know what an otter is in the gay community?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. What
it's
an
Adam
ally.
Brody.
Yes. I mean, it's sort of Adam Brody is like, he's like approaching otter if he didn't like, because he's trying to be a teenager. If he didn't like shave any of his chest hair, he would definitely be an otter. But like, he is definitely more in twink category. But like this whole thing with the little, like the, you know, going right down the middle, like it's a whole lovely thing. And I knew then, I knew that there was something is stirring there. Something was stirring in that moment.
No, was something still stirring later on in the episode when Adam Brody is pointing out that he's terrible at sex, and finally decides that he needs to consult Sandy Cohen about how bad he was at sex. And that's when we get the most Seth Cohen, like, summing up what my expectations of Seth Cohen in bed actually is, when Sandy says the words foreplay and he says, "For what?" And I'm like, of course, the idea of buttering up somebody before you just get to thrusting
not buttering
would be
up.
lost on Seth Cohen.
Not buttering up, Matt.
I'll throw around whatever phrase I wish to, but
white meat, dark meat, all will be carved. That
yeah,
conversation
I was just like that. The idea
awful.
that there is no foreplay in Seth Cohen's lovemaking is the least shocking information of this episode.
But okay, let's really think about it though, Matt. Like, if there was no foreplay, that means they kissed, she put the condom on, and like he went right in. Like, he slipped.
I
in
also
there.
appreciate that you correctly assume that Summer had to put the condom on for.
Oh,
Seth
absolutely,
Cohen.
absolutely. Of the two of them, who was probably paying attention in sex ed, or at the very least, like, you know, at a cheerleader event or something, you know, put a condom on a banana, like, absolutely she was the one who did it.
Insane. And then he somehow convinces Summer to give him another shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also not great. So then he's sitting and chatting to Captain Oates because he discovers that Summer has Princess Sparkle. And that's a kind of a cute scene where he's just like, "I'm sorry, dude, I ruined it. She had a Princess Sparkle that would have been perfect for you." And this is when Summer finally informs him that she goes, "You weren't the only virgin in that room." And he goes, "There was someone else in the room?" Because he can't possibly wrap his head around the fact that Summer, the 17-year-old, could possibly be a virgin the same way that he is.
Mm-hmm.
I did write Summer is a virgin. That is scandalous. It's not really scandalous. But that's not the end of the sex talk, Joe, because like we said, Ryan and Marissa have their own thing happening. And the line delivery of the entire episode comes from a conversation between Marissa and Summer where they're lying on the beach and it's this quick back and forth. And Marissa says, he hates me. And Summer says, he doesn't hate you. And then Marissa says, he turned down sex. And Summer goes, you might be onto something. And like the snappy back and forth, like that was, again, we reference it all the time, but that's some like Gilmore Girls level, quick-witted back and forth dialogue happening in that moment. But I'm fully with Ryan, like wanting to put up some fucking walls right now and be like, you put me through hell. You were like about to let me get expelled for this dude. Like,
you're about to put me through hell. You didn't believe me when it was I who believed in you. Like, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to save you from yourself because I care about you so much. And now it's this situation. And it's just like, you know, when you look at it, the Oliver stuff is there to kind of put these last episodes of, you know, the fourth season in the first season of the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I figured out who the big bad is for the next 4 to 5 episodes, I guess, because Teresa's back. And that's all we know in this episode is just Teresa's back for a little bit. She's doing some catering work. I do love this character. Like when she showed up on screen, I legitimately was just like, "Aw!" Like I like Teresa. I like the history of like Teresa and Ryan. I enjoyed her in the Thanksgiving episode quite a bit. Are they probably going to make me dislike Teresa by the end of this storyline? It's possible.
It's possible, but I'm curious. Like, I like where your head is at because I'm curious as to like as we go on, especially with the next episode. I don't know if that's gonna be, you know, I'm curious to see where you're gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But that's kind of where we're left right now is immediately following the pseudo love triangle of Marissa, Ryan, and Oliver. We are now in the pseudo love triangle of Marissa, Ryan, and Teresa. Soon, next week, to be a 4-way.
At Maximum Mediocrity, people say things like,
I don't dress like this on the regular basis. This isn't my, you know, pooping uniform. This is not what I wear.
And they also say things like,
The nurses are usually either angels of mercy or whores.
Every episode is a new experience where you get to know people that aren't famous but should be.
Why did my facing Floyd Mayweather in the woods?
My co-host Morgan and I track down the people you didn't know you needed to hear from.
It's like hot sex in a mug.
We are the Maximum Mediocrity Podcast, and we are on all major podcasting platforms. We'll be waiting for you.
But we're still not done talking about sex on this episode, Joe, because the grossest thing in this episode is, of course, the continued budding romance of Julie Cooper and Luke.
Romance is such a strong word for what they're doing. They're just, it's not romance, it's fucking. Like, they are fucking.
I have so many problems with this. The creepiest part, which does lead to a very funny line, but the creepiest part is Luke explaining to her the game Ultimatum and how she's always been the mom that guys have voted for in Ultimatum.
Is that
if
a
they
thing?
could? No.
Okay.
Like what he's essentially talking about is just straight up, if you've ever been like, yo, that girl's mom is a MILF. Like he's just somehow turning it into a game that guys play when, like, no, at the most, guys will just be like, dude, so-and-so's got a hot mom. Like, but she has a line where she goes, really? I beat Kirsten. Which, like, says so much of where Julie Cooper's mind is right now, where I feel like there has got to be an element of, I'm going to have sex with Luke because he doesn't want to have sex with my rival Kirsten. And like that's like this
her best
weird
friend,
point
supposedly,
of pride.
right? Like,
Supposed
not even her
best
rival.
friend, yes.
Her next door neighbor, best friend, daughter of her ex-boyfriend,
Yeah,
Caleb Nickel.
it's all so murky and gross. It's the daughter of her ex-boyfriend, and she's fucking her daughter's ex-boyfriend. Like, there's just it's too, like, one step away from incestual. Like, it's not incestual, but it all feels way too close. Like,
yeah, it's very, I mean, this is telegraphing the next episode, but it's very novella. It's very soap opera.
Yes.
I mean, it is a soap opera, but just, it's too much. I guess that's it for the sex, right? For the actual couples who are having sex.
It's done for the couples that are having sex, but there are still 2 other storylines that are bouncing around. There are definitely minor storylines in this particular episode, but Sandy Cohen kind of being a little bit of a dick about Valentine's Day and Kirsten's love of it, and Jimmy Cooper's got a not so secret admirer.
Yeah, the hate for Valentine's Day is very like, it's very like Judd Hirsch, right? It's very crotchety Jew, like, you know.
Yeah.
But Kirsten also brings up good points. Kirsten's like, you hate my father. You don't want to do it. You complain all the time about living where we live, like things that are like fundamental to this whole fundamental to all of this is that, like, yeah, you complain about my father, you hate what I do, but, like, you know, I still love you. I still try to do things. And also to Kirsten, this is the holiday that she likes. So they got to listen to fucking Christmaka guy and, you know, all this stuff. Like, let her
they bring
have
that
her
up.
holiday.
They bring that up because he's like, it's a fake holiday made up. And she's like, we celebrate a fake holiday every December because we let Seth create his own goddamn holiday. Sandy doesn't really have a foot to stand on in this entire discussion, in all honesty. Like, he comes out just looking a little bit like a jerk. I am still in the Sandy Cohen can do no wrong category, but this was a bit of a misstep for sure.
But you know what? To kind of go back a little bit, though, I don't know if you were going to talk about this, but I just want to bring it up. Like, Daddy Cohen again, dropping the knowledge, being the fucking, like, you know, growing. What's his name? Alan Thicke from Growing Pains, and really kind of also just getting to the heart of the matter for
Summer and Seth.
For
right?
Summer, no, for Marissa and Ryan, because after Marissa is, you know, rebuffed by Ryan, and he just goes and ends it. He's just like, in his true ways, it's like, don't give up on him. He's used to people. And I was like, oh, that is so, rewatching it, I was like, my God, that is so brilliant. It's just like, maybe at the moment when people start pushing you away, maybe that's when they need you to kind of lean in a little bit. And yeah, it was beautiful.
For sure. That's a very good scene. And then the most minor of the plot lines is we get a little bit of a throwback to a couple episodes ago with Jimmy and Haley. It is what it is, but I feel like, again, I left that being like, this is fairly inconsequential. It seems like, anyway. Like,
yeah,
like it feels like they're just kind of trying to remind us that Haley's there and that Jimmy's there, but like,
absolutely,
because it's like, do I think the big finale is going to be the marriage of Haley and Jimmy Cooper? Like, no, but it's like, clearly there's other plans for both of these characters, and they just need to, like, remind us that they're that they're
but
still
also
around.
fuck you, Jimmy, for being like, you know, I'm sneaking around, you know, Kirsten, and it's like, why? Kirsten's a grown adult, Haley's grown up, you know, like, you can't, like, it's very much like, I read it exactly the way that Haley's meant to be thinking about it, is that he still is holding Kirsten high in his, you know, high up on a pedestal.
Yeah, no, 100%. But all in all, I enjoyed this episode. This was an episode I had fun with. Do I love it? No, but I had fun with it. Now, the music in this episode, is kind of all over the place. So we've got the song "Hello Sunshine" by the Super Furry Animals, which shows up twice. It is like the soundtrack to the Seth and Summer boning session.
Yes, very much.
We've got a song called "Bill Oddity" by, I have no clue how to pronounce this artist's name. I'm going to say Moab 3. And it's the song that plays when Marissa and Seth are both discussing their post-sex stuff to their friends. So it's kind of one of those classic Marissa and Summer talking, Seth and Ryan are talking, and we're kind of bouncing back and forth between the conversations. Summertime by the Fire Thief plays when Seth is first trying to convince Summer to give him a second attempt at sex to prove his worth.
Sure.
The Squirrel Nut Zippers show up with the song Anything But Love as the music at the Valentine's Day dance.
My God, any excuse to say Squirrel Nut Zippers, man.
I know. You know, Julie promises that she's going to have a lonely Valentine's Day, just her and some Bob Seger. And when Luke shows up to the house, boy, is Night Moves by Bob Seger playing at full blast.
Working on those night moves, man.
And then finally at the end, Summer and Seth decide to take things slow, and they have a slow dance in his bedroom to the sounds of Ryan Adams' cover of Wonderwall. So the question is, Joe, what did you write down as the song of the episode?
So initially it was Hello Sunshine, just because like it was given the fact that like we basically see like the beginning part of like Adam Brody's pubes.
Yeah.
Like it's just such a sweet and tender song for how like it ends and what we see afterwards. But the song that like I actually really liked was Night Moves.
I also wrote down Night Moves. This is one of the few times where I wrote down things beyond just the song title, because I wrote, it kind of grosses me out, but probably Night Moves.
Yeah.
It is weirdly the perfect song choice for that scene.
Yeah. Also too, like, just know that like that's blasting while like Julie's getting rocked the fuck out by like an 18-year-old, right? Like,
but for how long, the question remains.
I don't know.
She might be getting, I mean, possibly longer than Seth. I bet that Luke knows what foreplay is, for starters.
I mean, you know,
But
Luke has definitely had sex before.
Yes, that is true.
With her daughter.
So gross. It's so gross and creepy. I do love the weird choice of like, we can't afford Oasis's Wonderwall, but I wonder if we can get Ryan Adams' cover of Wonderwall.
I was like, you should have like, it was not my, it was a choice, right? Like,
yeah,
you should have just,
but it was the wrong choice.
It was, well, that maybe on some level that's part of the meta commentary of it, right? Is that like, this song is the right moment, but it is the wrong, the song is the right moment, but it's the wrong artist. It's the wrong version of it. I'm going to choose to believe that the music supervisor is that savvy with it. And let's post this and tag them and see if they agree.
Yeah. I also just could live a happy life not remembering that Ryan Adams exists in the world. But the last thing, my favorite part of our show sometimes, just the pop culture. What's the pop culture we're digesting right now? So, Joe, I will let you kick us off.
So it came out today. Well, today or yesterday. I think it was yesterday, actually, as of recording this. And I have no idea when this episode is going to air, but it is the latest Barbie trailer.
Yo, the conversation around that trailer. I mean, I was going to see that movie no matter what, but like with the original trailer, we saw the original teaser trailer. It showed us very little, right? Like it was a 2001 parody.
Yeah.
And
in her original outfit, which yeah.
But like I was like, all right, what is this? Because like, is it a comedy? Like, is this going to be like the Brady Bunch movie, like where it's super meta about it?
Sure.
But like, it's Greta Gerwig who like has made movies that I've really liked that are like way more like subtle, and then we get this new trailer, and it's like, oh boy, this is the. I jokingly posted a thing where it was announced that like Aqua's Barbie girl will not be used anywhere in the movie, which I think is a travesty.
Yeah. Because
watching this trailer, I'm like, but this is literally what Aqua was doing with the Barbie girl song. Like it's this acknowledgement of like how ridiculous the obsession over these characters and they're like genderless, loveless lifestyle is.
And like, again, this is one of those like, this movie cannot exist if the concept of the multiverse was not in the public, like in the culture, right?
Yeah.
Like it very much is about like a multiversal a like simultaneous multiversal existence of Barbie and Ken.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good, fun movie, but you're right. This is potentially going to be one of those movies where the aura around the movie is bigger than the actual film can ever dream of being at this point.
And everyone is in this fucking movie. Like
everybody.
It's like also too, and the thing about it is that like, are we gonna get any meaningful scenes with Dua Lipa or Nicola Coughlan? Like, probably the fuck not. We're gonna, Dua Lipa is just gonna be like, you know, probably singing 30 seconds of levitating as a fucking mermaid and then gone, right? Like we're not getting anything meaningful with these folks, but eating it up.
Yes. No, I fully agree with you. I'm actually going to talk about a book I read, Joe.
Oh,
I sometimes do that. I sometimes pick up a book and I read. One of my favorite writers, Chuck Klosterman, last year put out a book that felt perfectly written for me. It was my favorite author writing about my favorite decade. He put out an essay book called The 90s that was just him analyzing the entire decade and kind of pointing out things that could only happen in that decade, as well as things that like completely changed the way we see everything, and how it's affected us all the way into 2023. The chapter on the elections of the 90s is a particularly fascinating one, because it really does a great job of driving home the idea that like the existence of a Ross Perot and like the groundswell grassroots movement that Ross Perot was able to create, even while unsuccessful. He's like, you would be stupid to not see a direct through line from that moment all the way up to like the last 8 years. Like it's just this it's very interesting. It's very well written. It's very well researched. So if you're a fan of literally any aspect of pop culture, it's definitely worth grabbing. I have a hardcover. I'm sure by now it has been released in a cheaper softcover, which also displays more nicely on your bookshelf. So that's going to be my little pop culture promo / recommendation. But Joe, the drama with Teresa is just beginning. I thought, oh, cool, they brought her back for an episode.
You ain't seen nothing yet, baby.
Yeah, I think that there's more Teresa to be seen. So we will be back with more of that, I guess.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.